NCAA tournament guy?
Nope.
Not at all?
No, this is how little I am. I was out doing yard work yesterday, and my 8-year-old son comes running out, and he's like, Dad, Xavier's just about to beat Pittsburgh. And I was like, what?
What are you
What are you
speaking
talking
Spanish,
about?
boy?
What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, it's March Madness, Dad. I'm watching all the games. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
I just thought you were avoiding doing yard work.
Yeah, there was an NCAA tournament this weekend.
Apparently.
And I'm like you. I had it on as background noise for a little bit this weekend, but
Yeah.
I didn't watch a single minute all year, and I've probably watched 15 minutes of the tournament, but I've kind of kept up with it.
I'm to the point, I'm going to be honest with you. And if they're talking about it on like sports radio, I'll change the channel.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just like it doesn't relate to me. So it would be like.
So you've never been a basketball
Not a huge
fan?
basketball tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go to like NBA games if there's like an invite or like we get tickets, take the kids. Like,
Yeah, 'cause you're super rich and you just go sit courtside.
I prefer watching 6 and 8-year-olds play basketball. It's just better skill, just better overall enjoyment. So.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pretty good tournament. Not that you care, but a lot of underdogs have won this year.
I heard, my 8-year-old told me that Kansas State beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm assuming just historical
Yeah, not really what
judgment.
you think.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Was
not really what you
Kentucky highly ranked?
Kansas State was actually the higher ranked this year. But the big upset, only second time in history this ever happened, a 16 seed beat a 1. Who was that? Who was the 16 seed, David, that beat Purdue? Fairleigh Dickinson, which I didn't even never heard of. It's a school called Fairleigh Dickinson.
What's his name?
Apparently the school's like 2,000 kids.
Oh, wow.
The whole school. And they showed like a comparison, Purdue's basketball gym versus Fairleigh Dickinson. Dickinson's looks like a middle school gym, literally. And Purdue's is like 20,000.
Yep.
And so, yeah, they beat, and then they got beat the second round. But, yeah, that's I'm with you, though. It's like everybody in the world cares about it that isn't a sports fan, but I'm just like, whatever.
And I think, obviously with the world of sports betting too, like there's
Oh my gosh,
many things that you can bet on now.
Huge.
Like it's endless. So I could imagine that this is a great time.
Yeah.
I
forget the number. They said there was like, because the tournament starts on a last Thursday, and a Friday. So that's 2 days of work days. And it's something like, it's either 17 or $170 billion of lost revenue. I don't know how they figure that number.
I believe it. Yeah.
Basically, no. I mean, I was in the office on Friday. You weren't. No big deal. I was,
Are you
grinding.
sure? Because I was there.
I
I was there.
On Friday?
Yeah, and I saw you. Saw you and Clint.
Yeah, you were. Okay,
Yeah.
so, in the afternoon, it was like
Late
there were
afternoon.
like 3 of us there.
Yeah.
So nobody was working.
No.
Afternoon.
Yeah, I was actually
except for me, because I work hard.
I was out like meeting with clients and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I guess. I was not.
So you don't make money while you're in the office.
Because I guess Friday was St. Patty's Day, too. So, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see how productivity would be lost for sure. So then if you're not, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll say, if you're not an NCAA tournament fan, are you a World Baseball Classic fan? The World Cup for baseball? Did you not know that was going on?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Dude, Team USA.
That's a thing?
By the time this airs, Team USA will have either been the champion or lost in the championship game. They're going to the championship game.
Come on.
They play tomorrow night, Tuesday night.
So is it like the Olympics where they'll bring a bunch of pros and do that?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're in spring training right now.
Yeah.
So they get excused to
not
go
every
do that?
now it's not every single, of their best say yes. But yeah, I mean, a lot of our top players, American-born players, are playing.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we won. They won last night, which was Sunday night. Beat Cuba, crushed them. And now they're going to the championship. They either play Japan and again, this is all going to be all done by the time this comes out, but either Japan or Mexico. And we already lost to Mexico.
Yeah.
So, and Japan's good too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. My prediction at the end of this is USA will be your World Baseball Classic.
There you go.
champs.
All right.
We won the last one, 2017.
Okay.
So it's funny. My 6-year-old was a newborn during the last one, and I can remember feeding him a bottle, watching the world, because it was like it's a weird,
they
weird
do it every
times at
6
night.
years? So
It's a weird, like they did like 06, 09, like 12,
Whenever
16.
whenever we can round up the boys.
Whenever we can get enough people to say yes. And then the next one's in 2026, so it's like 3 years from now, so I don't know what the schedule is.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, the last one, my 6-year-old was a newborn, and I remember sitting there watching with him, and he was just like locked in as a 6-month-old watching baseball, and now he loves it. So we were
I like it.
sitting there watching.
When
last
is
night.
the final?
It'll have been so it's Tuesday night. Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night
as we're recording. This, 2 days ago.
Okay.
It goes live.
All right.
So there's the champs. Congratulations, US.
Yeah, come on.
big World Baseball Classic. So, well, I guess we diverged.
Speaking of champs, though, you didn't ask me about my my St. Patty's Day run.
I didn't know about your St. Patty's Day.
Oh, just like I didn't know about the World Baseball Classic. We talked about it, but you don't know about the St. Patty's. All right, so I'll bring it up.
This is the ultimate fish for a compliment.
I mean, just
what are we talking about here?
I mean, so City of Salina, they do a St. Patty's Day run downtown, and as you can imagine,
like a run.
It's a run. Yeah.
Okay,
it's the St. Patty's Day run. And so what it is a team of 4, and you run a mile between your teams, so it's 400 meters each.
Okay.
But you chug a beer.
So a mile relay.
Yeah, a mile relay, but you chug a beer before you run your 400,
nice.
so it's back and forth. So we put together a little squad, and I just, I was like, all right.
So before you can take off running, you have to chug a whole beer.
You have to chug a whole 12-ounce beer. Yep.
Green How was
beer.
that?
It went well.
Did you yak it everywhere?
Well. Nope. And nobody did, surprisingly.
Just one beer, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, that first 50 to 100 meters.
Not good.
There's some bubbly guts going. Just you got to burp it out. But you know what? And it was pretty cool because I think the average age on our team was probably 42. We had a 50-year-old. We had a 42-year-old. We had myself, 38, and then we had one guy that was like 32. Mm-hmm. So
and y'all got the dub.
Got the dub, and we got challenged. So this was like the CrossFit guys. That it was really kind of our gym, and the Salina Running Club called us out, and they were
y'all beat the running club.
The running club.
Wow.
Yeah, of course.
That's embarrassing.
They had a bunch of excuses on the backside of it, like, yeah, well, I mean, you guys do fast workouts, and we could just go forever.
But you're called the running club.
Yeah, you
run. Running event.
This is literally a run.
That's embarrassing.
But it was fun though, and it was intense. It was the fastest that I've actually ran in a long time, really opening up. Oh yeah.
What'd you run it in?
So we ran it as a team in what did we run it in? 5:07.
That's moving.
Yeah, so 5:07
what was your leg?
as a team.
Did they do individual lap times?
I know. I was hoping for laps like the
31 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Super fast.
I mean, it was funny. One of the guys was super nervous about the drinking part. He could run.
Yeah, that's what would get me.
Yeah, and he did good. He ran it with his mouth full because he couldn't drink it all. So he literally ran a 400-meter with his mouth full of beer.
Wow.
But yeah, it was fun, man. So champs. So I mean,
no big deal. Did you get a medal or
whatever? We got a gift card for a little Mexican restaurant.
Shout out
Salina.
to Chili's.
Yeah. I mean, Papagayos, appreciate y'all.
Hey, that's not a bad place.
Let's
actually.
go. It is good.
It is a good place.
So, anyways, that was my weekend. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was really fun. Then we got crushed in flag football, but other than that, we're
You're
good.
doing flag football right now?
Yeah, a little spring league. Yeah,
Oh,
the
dude.
boys. Yeah, it's
Give your kid a break.
no. He's gonna be highly specialized.
What is this, like
year
round?
Year round, and then when he's not in season, he's getting personal training.
Gosh.
And we're working out 5 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your stance on? I think we talked about this. What is your stance on? I've got a friend, and I'm torn. His
No, don't sugarcoat it.
His 6-year-old's doing year-round soccer.
Yeah, too much.
And it's not. He said they don't really do tournaments. It's mostly just like a game at a time. Huh. But they practice 2 nights a week, so it's not as crazy as some.
Sounds pretty crazy for.
But 2 nights a week, and then like a game, every weekend.
My twins are 6.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Rocco doing soccer and year round and
that's what I think.
Games every weekend?
Yeah, that was my concern. Is okay when they're 13, are they going to hate?
Yeah.
Are they going to hate it?
It's too much. My stance is kids need to be kids. We need to create space for our kids to be kids.
Yeah.
We talk about it in multiple different conversations about allowing space for creativity, allowing them to go be bored and figure out how to have fun on their own. If you're constantly filling their schedule with stuff, it's honestly, I see a lot of downside later on in life.
Yeah.
And they may love it right now. But when it becomes a job at 6, 8, 10, 12 years old, it's really hard. And I tell the flag football team that I coach in fall, and then I'm helping out on this season. But it's like, guys, this has got to be fun. Like, we're not going to wear you out. Like, this sport and all sports are too hard if you don't love it.
Yeah.
And so the goal is, and especially like in Texas, right? The goal is, unless you play baseball or soccer, which I get, the goal is when you're in high school, that's when you peak. You don't peak at 12. You don't peak at 13.
Right.
You peak at 18 so that you have an opportunity to get an education, to go to school, go have an experience that's unlike any other. So to me, any parent that wants their kid to specialize before they're like 15 or 16, I think like later in high school, okay, look, pick your sport, do it. I'm okay with that. But one, you're now training in a way that is limiting their movements. It's limiting their reactions. It's limiting their coordination because you're just doing sport-specific movements at that time. So you're creating a lesser athlete by doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you on the specialization for sure, and only focusing on one. It sounds like, though, this because his son does other sports still too, so it's a flexible enough schedule. So, but that's still that's where I'm still caught, is because my 6-year-old, I think, could handle it. He's intense enough and he likes it enough that I think he can handle 2 nights a week and then a game. I just worry about, by the time he's 9, I don't want to crush his love for the game
100%.
by the time he's 9, because he's been doing this for 3 years.
Or even like just love for competing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Because I mean, I've seen kids that they've got, they're doing multiple sports, but they've got like flag football, then they got baseball, then they got soccer, and then they got jiu-jitsu, and then they got like, when you are completely filling their schedule, I think you're taking away from just their mental development, from their decision-making ability. There's just I think a lot of negatives that come with just like overloading them with like performing.
Yeah. No, it's actually funny you say that, because we're going through that with him right now, which is anytime there's downtime, he's not good with downtime at all.
I get it.
Because he goes to school all day, every single hour is accounted for. He comes home, we've got some sort of activity planned for him. So when there's nothing on the schedule, he's not great with.
Yeah. See,
so to your point, that he's not very creative with how to fill his time.
Yeah.
When there's nothing scheduled.
My son Rocco's kind of the same deal. And so I think he's got levels of like ADD. Is he literally, it's like go, 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 go all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just boys in that age. But it's like, if there's nothing to do, like he's off the walls, like, and he's digging into stuff that's like, okay, look, let's make better decisions, buddy. But he's like bored. When he's bored, he can't go like productively. He can't go productively spend his time doing something that like is, fun or creative or something. Like he just wants attention.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because like summertime's coming, so no school. And so the temptation for my wife and I is to make a schedule for the day and like have it every hour because that helps us out, right? If we know what's coming and we know, but
maybe schedule
maybe scheduling 2 hours of, hey, you be creative, you do what you.
Well, and especially
we've kind of introduced that with like art, you got to go draw or have that type of creative time.
Yeah. But even with y'all going to have a newborn this summer, like you're going to need to not have everything scheduled and planned out and all that. Like they've got to be able to like play together. Yeah. And entertain each other.
Yeah. We're T-minus 1 week from third baby.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was yesterday when you were telling me that y'all were pregnant. Like it literally feels like it was yesterday.
I've got flown.
Yeah.
Flown.
Crazy.
So, yeah. So pray for me out there, everybody listening. I'm about to, because I'm not 29 anymore when I had my first one. And so this one's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm 35 now. That's an old body trying to wake up in the middle of the night. And anyway, before we go any further, I do want to thank our partners. Speaking of sleep, first and foremost, Sleep Number. We're about to put the Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed to test with our sleeping patterns. And that's the great thing about these beds is, we're not going to be getting the quantity of sleep here in the next few months.
Yeah.
So it's paramount that we get quality sleep.
Right.
And that's what they're doing, obviously, with their technology. What I love is, you're laying it on your back and then you flip over to your side and the bed automatically adjusts and contours.
Dude, when that compressor hits,
you hear that little sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's literally, it's the smartest bed on the market. So go check yourself out as Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed. Either in person, I would recommend in person. It's a VIP experience. You walk in, they treat you like you're,
They find your score, they find or not your score, find your sleep number setting, but they'll literally they have, it's such a scientific approach to how they gauge on, okay, hey, what bed is right for you? What do you need? What accessories? I mean, they have a cooling bed that's being released this year. I mean, there's all sorts. So if you sleep hot, like you don't have, they have this like cocoon thing that like it's got a vent. Well, now it's going to be built into the bed. I mean, there's just so much that they do.
Awesome.
The other thing that's really cool is we just ordered a bunch of accessories for our bed. Like,
did too, yeah.
Like the bed itself, like is phenomenal, but even the pillows and sheets and all that stuff, like we made an attempt at pillows on the first one. I'm like, oh, I've always slept with body pillows. And honestly, I realized I don't like body pillows. And neither does my wife, because it literally, I'll roll over and it'll flop on her face like this big old pillow. She's like, I hate this pillow. It's super comfortable. But they have these contoured pillows. They have all sorts of things that really also aid in the overall sleep performance process. And so, again, it not only is it incredible beds, are you getting a scientific approach to it, and you have data that you can actually like coach yourself, but also just the accessories are great too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So go check out sleepnumber.com or Sleep Number store near you. And then also our partner, Choctaw Casinos.
Yeah, I got a text over the weekend. A buddy of mine, he and his wife went on a little getaway and saw Chris Stapleton.
Oh,
no big deal
at Choctaw.
At Choctaw,
wow,
no
that
big
must
deal.
have been a show.
Yeah, so and raving about their experience there. The hotel rooms were unbelievable. It's the new hotel that they've added. They went and had dinner, an incredible concert, and he's like, it's just great people up there.
Yes, absolutely. So
it's easy getaway.
Yep.
Weather's starting to
turn.
It was here in Dallas, and then it got really cold
later this week. Yeah, it'll turn.
Summer, spring's coming up, pool time. They got resort style pool, swim up bars. It's awesome.
That's right.
Go check it out.
Go check it out. Short drive up 75. Okay, moving on. Have you been keeping up with, we're in the business world. Have you been keeping up with this bank collapse story at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Has that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Has that reached your desk?
So I was in Montana last week with a buddy who is in the financial sector. And so it had just
out in California, right?
He's in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, he's originally from California, but it was interesting hearing it from his perspective on the impact that it's going to make. And then, I've got a couple banking clients that smaller regional banks, and the impact that it's initially made. And I think now the dust is starting to settle a little bit on, okay, really what's going on with it? What was it? Is this the sign of the banking system failing? Is there more to come? And, really it's just been interesting kind of navigating, and, you're not getting all the information, especially like the FDIC and like what they're saying they're doing, and like Biden and what he's saying, what they're going to do to bail out, and who's getting bailed out, and what they're portraying it as, what it really is. There's just there's a lot going on with it.
So was your friend able to explain to you in layman's terms how it affects people like us, a typical citizen, or should we even care? Does it even really affect us?
Well, sort of, because there's, what do they call it? Like the chain reaction of it, right? And because it's not a, Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America type of institution, the smaller banks were like, whoa, and stocks plummeted.
Yeah.
So it was really tough on those banks. But it was like to the benefit of the larger banks, right? Because now as a consumer, we're looking at it like, okay, the smaller banks are going to fail. I've got to make sure that if I'm putting my deposits, because the big thing right here is deposits, right? That's what you got to remember.
Right.
Is because what they did is they took their assets and they did not invest them into the right bonds, into the right type of, and I'm going to throw up air quotes, insurance, and I'm not real smart, but they put money in bad places.
Yeah.
So that, and they were affected when it came time where they couldn't sell assets, they couldn't recover what, and they didn't have enough deposits to cover what.
Yeah, my understanding was they catered to the tech world, which has cratered the last year and a half. And so a lot of their investments were in the tech world and obviously not doing well. And so when people go to pull their money out, there's no money there to pull because the investments are.
That's right.
And again, I'm a moron. I don't understand it all. It's weird because you're living in two different worlds. You go on Twitter or the news, and it's the world's ending.
Totally.
It's not information that they're portraying to you. It's doomsday.
Yeah.
But then you live I go about my day and my business. I haven't noticed any issues.
No, and I think especially as you're looking at it right now, and one of the things I was listening to today that came out late last week, right, is the government bailout of this, right? And they're giving money back to the shareholders of this bank. And the problem is that the shareholders of this bank had an average of $250,000 or more in the bank account. Right. So this isn't like your everyday, like,
because there were businesses, right?
Right. So it was geared more towards the commercial side. And so it's totally different, right? Where like the typical FDIC insurance process would have worked, but the government has stepped in and given more bailout, I think in fear of like, hey, we're going to solve this, we're going to fix this so that it doesn't turn into a bigger issue. But again, now you've just got very wealthy people that are getting their money back, as opposed to back in 2008, the financial crash then, when they're only reimbursing 10% of what was lost. Yeah. So again, there's all sorts of stuff, and there's a bunch of bad information out there. I don't have all the information, so take what I say with a grain of salt, because it's all secondhand from what I've got.
This is how we share information.
Right.
I heard from a buddy that heard from a buddy.
Yeah.
But now with Twitter, that's the weird thing. The last 20 years, information sharing has changed so much.
Totally.
If this happened 20 years ago, it would be like this exact exchange. Hey, my buddy's in the financial. He said this.
Yep.
Now you can go on Twitter, but unfortunately, even people on Twitter or wherever, social media, they're trying to get clicks too. Yeah. It's not they're not incentivized to just give you information only and be done with it.
Right.
So it's parsing through. Does your buddy foresee this being like another? Because again, you go on Twitter. This is 2008 all over again.
Yeah.
You go in the real world. It's like everybody's
I don't think so. I don't think so. This is again, when you are a financial institution. And every financial institution kind of has their niches, like especially the smaller banks, right? Some are like heavily into real estate. Some are heavily into like venture capital. Some are in just commercial lending. So, I mean, there's all sectors, and you have your niche, but you still have to be diversified just for this case. And in this instance, they were not. Yeah. And especially as they're reinvesting the deposits and buying, again, throwing up air quotes, insurance, right? Mm-hmm. To make sure that money stays there, is they did not diversify, and they were ultimately.
So moral of the story is don't start a tech company and put it with a California bank.
With a California bank, yeah.
That's my takeaway.
There you go.
That's it. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. There's plenty of great banks in Texas you can invest in.
Appreciate that. Mike Rowe. Do you know Mike Rowe?
Yeah.
Dirty Jobs.
Yeah.
Man of all men.
Yeah.
Good dude. Seems like a good dude. He made the news. Saw an interesting article over the weekend. The title of the article was, quote, "The most chilling metric of all," end quote. Mike Rowe warns that 7 million American men are done looking for work and have punched out, and why that's a serious problem. Crazy, huh? I'll read a couple of highlights from the article. This is from Yahoo News if you want to go check it out yourself. It says, men have been steadily clocking out of the American workforce since pre-pandemic times, even now despite there being millions of job openings in an uncertain economic climate. While the U.S. labor market remains incredibly tight, around 7 million, quote, prime age men between the ages of 25 and 54 are reportedly sitting it out. Quote, "They are affirmatively not looking for work. They've punched out. They're done," TV host Mike Rowe said on the Brian Kilmeade show, citing research from economist Nick Eberstadt. Eberstadt says a vast majority of these prime-age men spend around 2,000 hours a year on screens, do little housework, and don't spend time volunteering. Thought that was an interesting call out. Two more sentences here. Rowe calls the decline in male participation in the workforce, quote, "the most chilling metric of all, since it's an indication of what's to come." And then lastly, the U.S. labor shortage will probably have to be solved by some combination of immigration, automation, and or recession, writes Eberstadt in an op-ed for the Washington Post.
Interesting.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's when you read that headline and when you even read those, right, the highlights, I don't think you're getting the whole story.
Yeah.
I think
For sure not.
I think what the pandemic has shown is either a shift to entrepreneurship or a shift to just focusing on building your own family business.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be real estate, whether it be like direct to consumer marketing, I have multiple friends that like stepped away from the workforce to start a small company with their wife and have grown that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that accounts for everybody. Do I think that it's half of 7 million? No. Do I think it's 10% of 7 million? No. But I do think that there's a portion of that population that they talk about that they're doing something for themselves, like rental properties on the commercial, Airbnbs. I mean, look at these businesses that have exploded, and there's a ton of new people in that space as opposed to their 9 to 5, right? I think what people learned over the pandemic is, hey, I like the freedom. I'm controlling my own day. I want to work for myself.
Yeah.
So I think you see a lot more independently, independent contractors or, work for themselves type of jobs out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, what stuck out to me was the part that says a vast majority of these prime age men spend around 2,000 hours a year on screens, do little housework, and don't spend time volunteering. That's what stuck out to me, which... Again, I don't know where he's necessarily pulling that statistic. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wonder how they. Yeah, how do you gauge? How do you survey that?
Yeah, I'm not going to go all in and just go off on people, but I mean, it's like we talked about last week, and we've been talking about kind of a common theme: this narcissistic culture that you bring up that doesn't highlight the importance of serving others and community mindset.
Yep.
Of course you're going to have these issues. Now, again, there's a percentage that are doing exactly what you said. They're starting their own businesses. They're great. But there's also a percentage that are just lost. They're not sure what their purpose is.
The problem it doesn't account for, okay, well, I mean, how are these people making money? Like you have to make money.
Well, it mentioned in there, a lot of them are living off of, or were living off of the government aid that came in. But I don't know how long that lasts or
look,
that whole process.
Let's put it all in perspective. Like, let's just say you are on unemployment. Like that times out. You time out there.
Right.
Okay, let's just say you got the government assistance. Okay, you maybe made a total of like $15,000, $20,000 over the entire period if you took advantage of everything.
Right.
Okay.
Where does that get you?
You can't just like retire on that.
No,
so that's where I'm like confused at where they're saying like,
yeah, what are these people doing? What are these 7 million people doing?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, a portion of them, I'm sure, maybe hit early retirement. You talk about 25 to 54. So maybe some of them have done well, and hey, look, I'm going to retire. I've got enough. I got my years in. Whether I was a police officer or a firefighter, I got my 30 years. Now I'm going to do my own deal, and I'm gonna live off my investments or my retirement account or whatever it is. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that's unaccounted for in that. I think that's I like Mike Rowe, and that's like his world, like the dirty jobs, right? And he wants to call it out. And I do agree with that. The trend is that men are lazier than they ever have been, for sure. I don't disagree with that, but this is a somewhat of a misleading article, in my opinion.
Well, it's fear porn. It's fear mongering, all that good stuff.
100%,
for sure.
100%.
So do you think that mentality has changed over time, and we do have a different workforce out there?
Yeah, I think we're a selfish workforce, like what you said, right? Like the volunteering aspect. I don't know how accurate that is. I would say we had a serious problem with that prior to the pandemic. And I'm sure it has gotten worse, but everything is about what makes me happy. There's no loyalty to companies, employers. It's what makes me happy, who pays me the most. How can I spend the least amount of time working to get the most amount of money?
Well, and that's the irony that we always talk about, is the joy you find from finding a purpose in service of others.
Yep.
And hopefully that's through your job, but if it's not outside of your job, and it's just, it seems counterintuitive. Oh, I have to go give up my time to actually feel this joy you're talking about.
Yeah.
It feels like that doesn't make sense. But it's so true. Again, I've said this before. I could spend my entire week at home if I wanted to and not see a single soul to do the job that I do.
Yep.
It's very possible because all I really need is a computer and internet connection to do what I do.
Yep.
And so I'm seeking, and you know, maybe it does provide a certain income that I like, but if I just did that, of course I'm going to be missing something because I'm missing out on that community.
Yeah.
And that purpose of, you know, as a team and driving towards a similar goal. And it's like, again, on paper, it doesn't make sense. I've got to give more of myself to feel better.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, but it's so true.
Man, there's so much power in just purpose and understanding that you are making an impact in someone else's life and not expecting something in return. Mm-hmm. There's just an energy that comes with that. And until you explore that feeling, it sounds weird. It sounds odd. It sounds abstract. But I'm telling you, just please, like, if you've listened to the show, like, I hope that you think that we give authentic, honest perspectives. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it truly is like something that I want to, need to, desire to do more of that. Yeah. But just the limited amount that I have in my past, like those are the times that I feel the most energy, the most fulfilled, and like feel like, okay, I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just, this is where I'm at right now is I feel very selfish with my time. Mm-hmm. And I felt this way for a good part of the last year probably. And just life feels weird right now. Yeah. And again, I got priorities and things that I got to get taken care of, but I'm not out seeking other than, you know, my, you know, kids sports and coaching and helping with that. But when I'm out there for that hour of the week, that's when I feel best.
Yeah. Which, don't discredit that time, right? Like, right. Think about the 8 other kids that you get to pour into, right? Absolutely. Like that is giving, the giving of your time. Like, if you coach your kids or you volunteer your kids' school, like it doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm going to go walk, you know, the downtown streets and hand out meals and, you know, stuff like that. Like you don't have to go build houses. Like, great. Those are all awesome things and highly encourage it. But serving doesn't mean this big grand, like service event, right? Like it's just every day in your community.
That's right. And so my wife and I actually signing up in the process of volunteering with the local church high school class, or like the youth group, I guess you would call it. And so I'm excited about that because, you know, we talk about, you know, what's the next generation doing and raising them up. And this is a real tangible way to have a positive impact on that. So I'm excited. I'm also excited just because it's been, I hate to admit it, I mean, it's been almost 20 years since I was in high school. Completely different, you know, life than what these kids are going through. 20-year reunion is this year. That's crazy. And so I'm so, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm very detached from what a high schooler's going through right now. And I don't have any high schoolers yet. You know, none of my kids are that old. So it'll be interesting to see what, you know, because they're living so differently. So different. Than how we grew up. Yeah. You know, everything they do is documented. Everything, you know, everything they do is comparing, you know, what I have to other people. And we just didn't really have that. And we were the last generation that didn't have that, actually, if you think about it. And so, again, I think that's not why I signed up to do it, is to get rid of this weird like feeling that I have. But I am excited to. But you've been searching, Ben, for a long time, right? You've been searching for like, all right, like I have these giftings, I have these abilities, like, you know, I'm lucky enough that like my family is in a position that like we can give back and we can do things. Like it's been on your heart for a while. Yeah. And so like, it's great that like you're doing that and exploring it. And I would argue that there's a number of people listening right here that are going through something similar. Yeah. So I would just encourage it. And there's plenty of things out there to do. And if you need suggestions, like reach out to us, like DM us on Instagram. But we'll get you some great organizations, whether locally, whether nationally, internationally, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, there's a ton of awesome opportunities, but really I would just encourage, like in your local community, there's plenty of opportunities like staring right at you that you can take advantage of. Yeah. It's just taking my own medicine, which is, you know, like I said earlier, I'm so busy. I got so much going on. It's how do I fit more time to give to other people whenever I feel like I'm already stretched so thin. Which is crazy, right? And so I just started at 75 Hard again today. And I was not going to announce it
because I was just going to try to get through it quietly, but there's some accountability here in this. But one of the things that we've talked about multiple times is you don't realize how much time you actually have in the day. Yeah. Like schedule it, like block it, like once a week, block an hour. Yeah. Like you have it. I promise you, no, you're right. I promise you can fit it in there. Like nobody is that busy that you can't block. I'm not going to say nobody. It's very, very few people don't have an hour a week that they can share spending time with someone that they can pour into. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we wrap it up with this. What's your feelings on the future? Are you optimistic, pessimistic, indifferent about it? What's your, it seems like every day there's a new story about something going wrong, and you're hearing about how bad everything is.
Yeah, what's your, honestly, man, I'm kind of caught in the middle.
You've been removed from social media now.
For 3-4 weeks.
Yeah. So, and I imagine you're not sitting down and watching the local news. So you're removed from the negative.
Well, I do listen to a podcast that's like current news stuff.
Okay.
I think you told me about it.
Was it Breaking Points?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about it?
I like
pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. No.
Because they're not super doom and gloom. They're just
it is what it is.
They're as middle down the fairway as far as delivering information.
Yeah, and so I was actually listening to that on the way over here, and one of the things they talked about was Snapchat releasing AI into their platform, and someone did a test, and it was they pretended to be a 13-year-old girl and asked some questions. Well, apparently this AI sent information. This AI platform sent information to this 13-year-old, the supposed 13-year-old girl, that on how to lie to her parents, meet up with a 31-year-old, and how the right way to lose her virginity on her 13th birthday with the addition of music and candles.
Jeez.
So I say that because
there's pessimistic about the future.
No. I think that there's things that are out there right now that are scary, that are very scary. The speed at which AI is progressing is scary.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, right, there's the optimist where I'm like, there's a ton of opportunity out there. Like I really do. Like you talk about 7 million like able and willing men on the sidelines. Like there's opportunity out there. Like you can distinguish yourself by having half of a work ethic, half discipline, half morals. I mean, the bar is so much lower than it used to be like a very, very successful person. And so I think there's opportunity. Like I think as parents, we should also look at it with, and I've said this multiple times, you should have a lot of optimism if you raise your children right and you pour into them and invest in them, like in their confidence, in their skills, in their empathy, and all these traits that we have such a lack of, your kids can crush it.
Yeah.
So I just, again, there's a lot of like things that I'm fearful because I'm somewhat in the camp of like doomsday prepper.
Yeah.
Like I see things that I'm like, it could fall apart in an instant, but there's also some excitement about that because I know that there's a bunch of like
ready for it?
Highly like incapable people out there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. There's a lot. It's just a crazy time that we're in. Yeah. All I'm saying is everybody better get your affairs in order. And I'm talking mostly spiritually. Get your affairs in order because I don't know when this thing's coming crashing down, but it will. But make sure you've got eternity planned for and not just the next fiscal year.
Yeah. Yeah, the doomsday sky is falling side of me is fearful. There is some things happening that I'm like, this has never happened before, a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, the logical brain says every generation has probably felt this way. Think about just a dumb example. Back in the day when like TV first came out and when radio first, they were probably thinking the same. This is going to ruin, society, and we're all going to. Now you could argue maybe that was the start of it.
Man, that's a good point.
But I think
it's happening a lot slower than
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure every society has thought the end is near.
Yeah, and we haven't lived through, like we were talking about it yesterday with my kids, and I was blown away, by the way, that like my kids are actually paying attention to some of the stuff because they still pray every single night for Ukraine. And like my wife and I like look at each other and like, y'all can let it go. Like it's not in the news anymore. But like they're still, right? They're still in conflict. But this is that generation, that younger generation, that's all they know.
Yeah.
Right? Like this, especially the younger kids, like our kids. You know, some of the kids may remember a little bit of like the 9/11 post, like the Afghanistan war, like all that. But like none of us have lived in a World War I or World War II or Civil War. Like my kids were talking about Civil War and like how, you know, how deadly that was.
Well, it seems like we're above all that.
There's an arrogance to that. Yeah. There's an arrogance to that. We're above, 100%.
Like, we don't fight each other. That's
we are
so old school.
We are so unstable as a culture, unstable as a culture that like, who knows? I mean, again, I don't think we have enough courage. I mean, call it like you said. I don't think we have enough courage as Americans to actually engage in a physical fight. But I think
there's still enough good Americans that are courageous.
Well, but what I'm saying though is someone has to instigate it, right?
Yeah.
And right now the perspective is that the left-wing politicians, right, that are pushing agendas are trying to take away our freedoms and try to do this, and then the right wings are going to stand up and they're going to fight, right? I don't see the left wing side being courageous enough to really physically go and do anything. Like they're talking about taking away guns. Let me see you guys actually come take away guns. Are you actually going to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's.
I think it's all a joke.
I think it all is too.
Both sides, it's all a joke. It's all just pandering and
agreed. That's
talking
what I'm
to
saying.
your base and
that's what I'm saying.
What's going to make everybody cheer for me and re-vote for me?
It's the tough kid at school that wants to talk a lot of crap until someone says, "Okay, meet me after school at 3:00. Let's see if you show up."
Yeah.
I don't think that there's enough people that'll show up at 3:00 after school.
Yeah, I think I'm optimistic, but I do think we're going to have to go through some growing pains. I think the reason I'm optimistic is because, and we talk about this, is anytime you grow from something, it's because you're challenged.
100%.
And I think we're going through that time of challenge right now. Everything's been good for so long. We're finally
qualify this as a challenge.
Well, it's not. It's a challenge that we're at each other's throats. And again, maybe not as much as
I think it gets
Civil
worse
War,
before it gets better.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think at the end, I'm optimistic.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
I do think we're going to have some growing pains and go through some rough stuff. But it does seem like people are waking up to the realities of the situations, the things that we've let slide for so long. Now, can we do anything about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we really do anything about politicians continuing to take advantage of us? I don't know, because at the end of the day, I'm going to worry about my family and what affects me day to day and not what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we're aware, but are we really going to do anything about it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it does seem like we are more aware.
I think we will. I think that we'll see a better turnout on voting, and I think the problem is I just don't know if we have enough people that are willing to step up to be a politician.
Well, I've heard this said before. The people that you want to step up are not interested because they're sane human beings. They don't want that smoke.
Yes, exactly.
It's the people that want it that you're worried about that you're having to vote for.
Yeah.
And it's the people that are turning this into a career and how can I make millions of dollars at the end of this and not for public service. That's the catch-22 we're in.
That's right.
The people you want to do it, they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's totally understandable why.
Yeah.
The people that do want to do it, you don't want them doing it, but that's all you can really vote for.
That's
so
right.
I don't know. I certainly don't have the answer here on this couch of how we get out of it. But I do think, again, the positive side is you go through a little bit of turbulence to ultimately come out.
Yeah.
It's the spoiled kid analogy. You know, the kid that's been handed everything his whole life, never goes through any adversity. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's going to turn out to be a dickhead. Mm-hmm. But the kid that has to struggle a little bit and that goes through some stuff and understands what it's like to struggle, he comes out bigger, better, badder than ever. And I think hopefully that's our kids' generation, I hope, is that our generation's going through a little bit of a rough patch. Kids right now are going through a little bit of a rough patch, but the younger kids can learn from that. I've been hearing from people, and again, there's experts out there that know this better than I do, but that this youngest generation that we have right now is the most empathetic generation we've had. I don't know if you've seen that or experienced that at all. But, yeah, maybe they go about it a little bit differently, and maybe that's misguided. The whole woke culture maybe misguided a little bit. But I think the empathy is there, and I think understanding a heart for others. There might be glimmers there.
You know what?
Something.
It's interesting. I was listening to that Breaking Points, and the lead singer for Pink Floyd. You heard the story?
Mm-mm.
So he had a show in Germany, and he got canceled because he has made comments in support against, or he's just made comments against Israel, and who I believe he's Jewish, but Germany is telling him that he's anti-Semitic because his comments against Israel. And apparently Israel, and this is me just now starting to catch up on like world news, but apparently Israel, right, is oppressing Philistines.
Yeah.
Palestinians. Sorry,
yeah,
Palestinians, not Philistines.
Yeah. There's a whole rift.
Palestinians.
Yeah, I don't
right. So there's
that.
Obviously, but the government is actually so now you have a huge number of Jews around the world that are speaking out against Israel, who are supporting their longtime enemy in the Palestinians, right? And so this holy war over the Holy Land has gone on for centuries and centuries and centuries, and now you see this level of empathy from Jews on like, no, they have basic human rights too. We can't do this even to our enemies. So I agree with you. I do think that there is a level of empathy that has come to the forefront. I think it's misguided sometimes. Sometimes it's guised as empathy, and it's just ignorance sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do see that, like, at least there's an attempt.
Yeah. It all comes back to how we raise our kids. I mean, it's how every generation has been, but maybe now something more important than ever.
Yeah.
Of how do you take care of your home? Yeah. And I think that's where it always leads to.
That's right.
Every time no matter the topic, that's what it ends up going back to.
That's right.
Is how are you leading your 4 kids? How am I leading my 3?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Anyway, interesting. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. That was just kind of a hodgepodge of current events going on. Just kind of what's on our minds going on lately. But everything good on the home front?
Everything's good, man.
Yeah.
Fam's good. Yeah, we're about to step into a busy season for sure. Spring and summer are wild for us. We're actually right now in process. You talk about serving. We're in process of planning a trip to Ghana. With International Justice Mission.
Wow.
They've got some field offices out there. Yeah, and we're looking at bringing Gia, so our 11-year-old. So we're just waiting for final approval that she can go.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
That's on the docket, and I mean, we got family camp, and we got a bunch, man.
Yeah,
we got a bunch.
Summer's gonna be wild. That's awesome, though. I remember my first trip like that. I was probably about that age, and it's just an eye opener, dude.
Oh my gosh,
it is an absolute game changer on your perspective.
Yep.
Which not every kid will have the opportunity, but every kid should have the opportunity to go to another country.
Totally agree.
Worst of the worst, see what it's like. Mm-hmm. If not that, at least go to the other side of town.
That's right.
That you're not used to.
Yep.
And go expose yourself to that and expose your kids to that. It's a game changer.
It is a shift. You're going to hear a lot less complaining about not getting the iPhone that they want. if you expose your kids to that, I promise.
No doubt. Yeah, speaking of iPhone, last thing, Rogan had on a guy a couple months back. I forget what the book's called this guy wrote, but he goes to the Congo and exposes what's the cobalt mines in the Congo. I'll send you the link.
Send me the podcast. I'd like to listen to that.
And Rogan mentions it multiple times. He said, this is the heaviest podcast I've ever done.
Dang.
Because he talks about this guy has to sneak into these cobalt mines where these people are basically slaves. You've got women, teenage women with their babies strapped to their back, mining this cobalt, all so that we can have our iPhones and all this electronics. So it's wild. Anyway, I'll send you
please send that to me. I'd love to
check that out.
Listen to that one.
All right, guys, appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. And we'll see you next week.